Hey everybody, Kev here. Welcome to the Inspired Healing Podcast. Very excited about today's show. I've got a very special guest on. But first of all, my sponsor, mealfan.com. Their goal is to be the ultimate destination for meal preparation and delivery. Go check them out, mealfan.com. Okay, today's guest is Daniela Nastasi. Daniela was born in Brooklyn. She grew up in that typical Italian New York City family. I just love her accent. I love her story about her family. Her father became the #1 mechanic for Ferrari in the whole of the US. She's also my first US guest, which is very, very exciting. She has walked over hot coals in the Tony Robbins firewalk experience, as I have, and we both talk about our experiences doing that, which is just absolutely fascinating and inspiring. She spent time at a mission over in Peru. She has a meditation program called the Breaking Ground Meditation Program, and wait till you hear her vision for the world's first Meditation Retreat Amusement Park. Absolutely fascinating. Myself and Joy, we're going to be the first ones there. Don't worry about that. She's a really inspiring lady. I'd love that conversation. I'm sure you're going to enjoy it. So without further ado, here it is. This is me and Daniela Nastasi. Daniela, welcome to the Inspired Healing Podcast. Great to have you here.
Thanks. I'm so happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
No worries at all. Now, for people that don't know you, Daniela, just tell me a bit about your life growing up, where you were born, family life as a kid, that kind of thing.
Sure. So I currently live in New Jersey, right outside of New York. I was born in Brooklyn. I was born to immigrant parents from Sicily who literally took a boat to get here. So when I say off the boat, it's legit. And they came, went straight to Brooklyn, and I grew up there for most of my younger childhood. Then we moved to New Jersey. And I grew up there. Like I said, I had my parents were great, and but there was a lot of I don't know. Should I get right into like the meat and potatoes of this here, or you just want like a quick, start up?
If you got meat and potatoes and they're interesting, go for it.
I love meat and potatoes. Yeah. So I, my father came here with my mother, and he came pretty much with nothing. He was a mechanic and was very passionate about cars and wanted to work with Ferraris. So he went to a Ferrari dealer in Manhattan, and because he had no experience, they were like, well, listen, we can't hire you. And he said, well, I will work for free if you will train me. And so they did. And he worked very hard, ended up becoming the top mechanic for Ferrari, started to race cars, was very into racing, and really just made a big impact in our lives, because he basically came here with nothing, really built a business, established himself. At one point, he was the only man in the United States who was selling Ferraris. So if you wanted to buy one, a Ferrari, a Lamborghini, you had to go through my father. He was the only man at that time. So you can imagine this, the kind of diligence, hardworking mentality someone like that would have. And so I grew up, we were always very, criticized, and it was never, hey, you did a good job. It was always, oh, you did something wrong, so we were never told when we did anything right, but always when we did something wrong. So it was really and it was, I could joke about it now because I'm older and I've done all my therapy, so I'm good now. But back then it was rough, because you couldn't even sleep late on the weekends. It would be like, whoa, what do you do? You sleeping your life away. You got to get up and you got to go to work. What do you do over here? And then, and if you were upset or you cried, what do you cry? I give you something to cry about. You going to cry about it? This is not nothing to cry about, so it's very tough. It was like, so immediately developed a very self-critical outlook. Was very hard on myself all the time as a result of this kind of upbringing, and there was love in the household too, but it was just very overly critical. So I grew up becoming very adamant about having to be good at things, but yet nothing was ever good enough. And so I developed this very toxic self-image of myself. And it wasn't until my mid-20s that someone said to me, you know, a friend of mine was like, wow, Dee, you know, you're really hard on yourself, like in a shocked, almost disgusted way. And it made an impact on me, because I was like, what do you mean? Isn't everybody this way? Like, I don't understand. And so that really opened the door for me to start really recognizing just how hard I was on myself. And that's kind of what led me to meditating, because I needed to calm my thoughts, because I was so overly critical, overly analyzing everything all the time. And because nothing was good enough, and I was never going to be good enough, I was, you know, my dad would say things to me like, you know, if you do in your life what you're passionate about, you'll never work. You know, you'll never be working, because you'll be doing what you love. And you know, as long as you find what your passion is. And so years I was like, oh, I got to find my passion. You know, Dad says, if I find the passion, then I'll never work, you know, but I had no idea what the freak my passion was. Like, I was so, you know, and then at one point I remember, I was in my 20s again, and he was like, if you haven't found your passion by now, you don't got nothing that you're passionate about. And I was like, you know, like, that was like, damn it. Now I don't even have a passion, you know. Luckily, I did find out, ironically, that what I am very passionate about is personal growth and constantly evolving and learning. And so that has become what I am so passionate about. And meditation kind of brought me there, because I couldn't accept that answer. So it was like the overcritical part of me did play a very important role, because I didn't stop until I found it, because I wasn't enough to say, no, that's it, I didn't find my passion, you know. And when I realized what it was and I found it, it was like, you know, that moment, that pivotal moment where like the clouds dissipate and the sun comes out, and it's like, oh, you know, like, yeah. So that's kind of a quick rundown of how I got, you know, to this point. Obviously there's so much more, but, you know, just to give you
look, I love that. I love the fact that your dad, you know, wanted to work for Ferrari, so he went to work there for free. And that's something that's like a lot of the gurus today sort of teach that kind of, you know, belief in yourself. Just go and work somewhere for free. And I love that.
Yeah.
So he had some great stuff going for him, your dad.
Yeah, he was always, I mean, from a young age, he was telling me things that I've heard, you know, later in life. It's just too bad I didn't fully grasp it back then, because I was like, you know, so lost in my own thoughts. But he's always been so insightful. And I mean, he's a great businessman, has done very well for himself. He's just a little rough around the edges.
Which I can understand, sort of Italian in New York and the whole box and dice. It's your typical New York upbringing from the sounds of it, which is great. So at school, what were you like at school?
Oh my gosh, I hated school. I never enjoyed school. And when I was younger, I was such a loner, and so to myself in school. And then, you know, as I got older, I started to blossom a lot more and actually become more involved in things, and actually go out with friends and, you know, socialize. But school itself, I never really enjoyed it, I think, because I never really knew what I wanted to do with, you know, so like, I would remember when I started going to college, I would take business courses because it was just like, well, this is kind of a catch-all. I could use this in anything I do, but I didn't really know what I wanted to do. So I lost interest, you know, because it wasn't something I was like, oh, this is what I want. And so there was not enough motivation, I think, or drive to be able to enjoy school. Plus, like, I'm still paying student loans. I mean, geez, you know, it's hard to enjoy school. Pay for it for the rest of your life.
Absolutely. And what was your when you left school, what was your first job? Well,
I started working before I even went to college. And I mean, geez, I feel like I've I've done everything. I worked in retail. I worked in law offices. I worked in marketing. I worked in real estate. Yeah. And now property management was the last industry that I stuck to for a few years. And now I'm kind of trying to transition out into doing a little more of my own thing. Really want to start hosting mental wellness retreats and purchase a farm and have a farm setting where you can come spend time with animals, be in nature, just unplug from the everyday and really reconnect with yourself.
Yep. And I want to talk about that later for sure. But real estate, you're in real estate for about 10 years or more?
Yeah. Yep. I started off selling real estate. It was funny because I took a real estate course because there was a good portion of my life where I was really living to please my father, which did not work out at all. But when I was doing that, he was always about, making your money make money for you. Your money's got to make money for you. So you need to buy an investment. Forget about buying a house. You need to buy a building. So I was like, all right. Let me take a real estate course so I know everything about real estate. Like that's how my mind works, So I took the course and I was like, wow, I'm into this. I could sell real estate. I could do this, So all of a sudden I started selling real estate, which I was not good at all. I didn't. So maybe I sold like a handful of houses over the course of like 5 years. So I had to get out of that because it wasn't, I was a single woman, wasn't doing enough to be able to really support myself the way I wanted to. So I had to find a job. So the first job I found was for a property management company in the office, managing the office duties. And then from there, I just became an assistant property manager. Then I'm a senior property manager. And so that's kind of how I got into that.
Who were some of your heroes growing up? Who did you just sort of look up to, and either in your personal life or people in the public eye? Who were people you admired as a young person growing up?
I will say that my parents were definitely the first people that I found myself always looking to for guidance. And I definitely admired my father so much because he was funny and charismatic and, was such a good businessman and smart. I mean, and my father really didn't even go to school. Like, I think he dropped out of school in like 7th grade or something like that, in Sicily, and right away started working on cars. So I was always so blown away by that. And so good at math. Like, he's doing calculations in his head. And I would always be like, I need a calculator. And then he would make fun because I needed a calculator. But, so he was, and then as I got older, I got to say Tony Robbins was one of the people that I was always very drawn to. I read a lot of his books in my 20s, and then I eventually started going to his seminars, and he has always been a very big influence in my life. I'm sure that there's others, but at the moment I can't think of too many other people.
No, that's cool. And I know you've walked over hot coals at a Tony Robbins event, which I have as well.
Yes.
So tell me about that.
So, that was my first event, and I went by myself because I do a lot of things by myself. And I remember thinking, like, as you know how it goes, right? He gives you like this little preparation just for the walking on the coals, and then before you leave the stadium to go outside and actually do it, he's got everyone clapping and screaming, yes, 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 yes. And so this is happening, and I'm looking around me, and I'm like, oh my God, this is a cult. Like, this is like insane. This is the first thing, but at the same time, I was invigorating, and it was like, it's a cult, and I freaking love it. Like, I'm totally into it. And, because you can't, there's really no words to describe what that level of energy feels like, because everyone in the room is in a peak state, and he is just revving you on the whole time So now we're walking out of the stadium and, making our way to the parking lot. And, you start to get, I got a little nervous, but at the same time, as you're now going, people who have already done it are now coming out. And so now they're, you're passing them in that hallway of the stadium, and everyone's like high-fiving, like, it's going to be great. Don't worry. It was awesome. And, I did it. It was, and so now it's building you up even more. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to, really like unbelievable. And then when we got to it, now I'm on the line, I'm outside, and I'm freaking out. I'm like, oh my God, I'm about to work freaking hot coals. What am I doing? But at the same time, like, still screaming, yes, clapping, such a plethora of emotion and sensations going on in that moment. And then when it was my turn to go, I was just like, I definitely was really nervous, but at the same time, it was like, well, I can't not do it. Like I'm doing it, and you know what? Screw it. Here we go. Walked across, and it felt like I was walking on popcorn. Like it was the most interesting feeling. And when I got to the other side, there's people there. The person who went before me is there. They're high-fiving you, and you're screaming at the top of your lungs. I mean, the most amazing experience. One of few experiences that will probably stick with me for my entire life, and then you walk away from that, and like, there's nothing you can't do. Like, I walked on hot coals. I didn't get burned. I felt like I was walking on popcorn. Like, I'm fucking unstoppable. Excuse my language, but like, that's exactly how I felt. So yeah, it was amazing experience. I met so many great people. I mean, those events are just full of like-minded people who are so into positivity and not even so much positivity, because there's a lot of buzz around that word these days, but just, having an open mind and wanting more and wanting to be more and wanting to better yourself. And just, it's so nice to be around people like that, as I'm sure better than most, that people like us, we crave that. We crave to be around others who are in the same mindset, who can understand when we talk about things like this and aren't sitting there saying something like, wow, you're nuts, do that. Like, is that necessary? Or, so it's definitely an experience that I would recommend to everyone to do it.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. I remember doing mine back in 1995, which was a little while ago now. And and I think we had we had to sort of say a mantra before we went out as well, something like cold ice or something, or something along those lines.
Yes, you're right. I forgot about that. I think it was cool moss. Cool moss is what we were saying. Cool moss.
Yeah, that's right.
Moss. Yeah.
And I mean, I had the same experience as you, and went out there, and I was sort of thinking, oh my God. And then there's people walking past, you can do it, it's great, it's fantastic, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And, so I went out there and did it and got across there, and there was these two ladies at the end of it. They were like models. They were just gorgeous. It was just something, and it was just kind of a weird experience. And they come up, gave me a hug, and I just felt on top of the world. I thought, nothing can stop me now. I'm just, it's just the most amazing experience. So definitely, any listeners get the chance, go and do the fire walk with Tony Robbins for sure. It's just an amazing thing. Now, I also noticed on your bio you talk about some mission trips. Now, what does that involve? What is that about, Daniela?
So I've only been on one mission trip, but eventually I would like to go on more. I did at one point, when I started this journey of self-reflection and self-growth, and I want to say it became a spiritual journey. And so I started out looking for some kind of soul food. And so I went to church. I started going to church because I thought that would really fill that void. And it did for a little bit, but it wasn't fully for me. But in that process, the church that I was going to, such amazing people there. They do mission trips every year. And the one year we went to Peru, to Chiclayo, and was basically just going to help build a school for children of the same parish, if you will, in Peru. And that was one of the most humbling experiences I had ever had, because we were in this very, very, very poor town. I mean, the streets had potholes that were like, I mean, I don't even know if that's the right term, because it was really big holes in the ground. Like if your car fell in, it wasn't coming out like that. It was insane. And then piles and piles of garbage in the streets, and just I had never seen anything like that. A lot of the homes didn't have running water. So, you know, we went to one of the villagers' house one night, and they had buckets of water in the kitchen, buckets of water in the bathroom. And at first I didn't pick up on it right away. And I was just like, what, you know, and then I realized, okay, there's no running water in this house. And so, you know, they're using the buckets of water in the bathroom. If you're using the toilet, and you got to pour some water from the bucket to flush it. And then in the kitchen, they were using utensils, they were using the bucket. And it was like, and these people were the happiest, sweetest, friendliest people. I mean, I don't know that I could be that humble and happy living under the same circumstances. And that just made a huge impact on me, because, you know, here in America and a lot of different countries, you know, I think that it's become very, we take for granted a lot of things. You know, I take a shower every morning. I before that trip, I took for granted the fact that I had warm running water in my house. It was just, I grew up having it. Like how privileged was I that I didn't even know I was privileged for having that, you know? So that is something which really, to this day, every time I take a shower, I actually think about it. I think about, thank God I have running water. And so that has been an experience that has really opened my eyes to so much that is going on in this world that I don't even really know about, and how lucky I am to have what I have and to be where I am. And that's something I don't take for granted anymore. So that was that trip. And I definitely need to do more of that. As soon as these travel bans are lifted and I don't have to wear a mask everywhere I go, I am going to definitely do another one of those.
Yeah, that's a really inspiring kind of message in there as well. So as far as meditation goes, when did that seed get planted in your mind? I know your dad obviously in a roundabout way got you thinking about meditation. When did that start to sort of take growth?
I definitely, I had been presented with it a handful of times before it actually sunk in that I needed to practice. And so one of my past relationships, the man that I was with, I was so in love with this guy. I thought we were going to get married and all this stuff. And eventually he ended it and was like, you're just, you know, you have very toxic thoughts. And that was one of the biggest issues that we had. And I was like, oh my God, heartbroken over that breakup. And I remembered thinking, I have to change this. Like I can't, you know, I can't continue to have toxic thoughts, whatever. I didn't even know what that meant at the time. I was like, so I remember I ordered a book online because I was like, all right, I'm going to try meditating. And I, the first time I ever tried it, I remember I fell asleep. I was like sitting on the floor in my bedroom. I was living in my mom's basement apartment of her house. And I was following this book's instructions of just, you know, deep breathing to, you know, 3 count inhale, 4 count exhale, whatever it was. And then before I knew it, I was like, so I was like, all right, well, that I didn't feel anything from that. I just fell asleep. So, you know, so then I started really kind of delving more into different types of meditation. And then I started, you know, just reading more books. And in the last, I would say in the last 5 to 7 years, I've got even more serious about it. Cause as much as I did the research, I wasn't consistent with the practice, you know? So it wasn't until the last 5 years or so that I started realizing that I needed to be more consistent. And then, I went to learn Transcendental Meditation. I took a course on that, and they host meditation retreats. And so a couple of years ago, I went on this retreat, and it's funny because I had no idea what to expect. I was like, all right, I'm going to go, hang out with some people. I wonder what we're going to do not even thinking it's a meditation retreat. Is that all there is? I don't know. So I show up there, and I'm early, and like hours early because it was far, and I drove. So, and this sweet little old lady was like, oh, here's your room. Okay, I'll see you at lunch. And I was like, what do you mean you see me at lunch? That's like 2 hours away. Is there anything to do? So you could just go in your room and meditate till then. And I was like, what did I get myself into here? Like I didn't meditate for 2 hours before that. And so it ended up literally being all we would get together for was breakfast, lunch, dinner. And in between all of those was meditation time. And so at first it was very difficult. Like, you could walk the grounds because it was a beautiful estate where they had this retreat. So it was very quiet. They had some cows on the property and a beautiful lake. So, you could walk around, but it was otherwise it's not like, there wasn't a bar. You couldn't go have a drink and, like hang out or socialize with anyone. And they were all so adamant about maintaining silence that even if you did leave your room to go somewhere, in between the lunch and dinner hours, you were expected to be very quiet. So it was a lot of solitude, a lot of silence, and a lot of meditation. I left that weekend a completely different person. Like, I don't think that I even realized how, like, what I was, getting into. And the only way I can really describe it is that when I left that Sunday afternoon, I walked outside and everything, I felt so connected to everything. Like, I saw a bird chirping in the tree and I was crying with joy, feeling connected to the bird. I felt the wind blow and I was like, oh, the wind is so beautiful. The bird, I was like this crazy person who was what others would perceive to be crazy, but I felt so enlightened and so connected to nature and people. And it was like, I left there knowing exactly the direction I needed to take with my life and what I was meant to do. It was like, I've never had so much clarity in my life. Yeah.
Fantastic. So you were sort of aware of transcendental meditation before you went there, or were you going there to learn how to do it type of thing?
So I had already learned how to do it. And it was the school that taught me how to do it hosted these retreats. And so I went on a retreat, I don't know, maybe a year after I had started the practice. So I already knew, and because they give you instructions on how much of the practice to do before lunch, after lunch, whatever. So I had been doing it already for a while, but there was something about being in the energy of all of these people in complete silence. They expected you to turn your phone off the whole time too, and I'm not going to lie, I snuck in a few text messages here and there, when I was in my room, but I did do my best to, because I also am one of those people that, I do want to get what I paid for, and I didn't want to, you know what I mean, lose out on that experience. So even though I snuck in a few, for the most part, I did leave the phone off and, in the drawer. But yeah, it was, I gotta do it again, because that feeling, once you experience that level of clarity and heightened awareness and consciousness, there's really nothing like it. And the only thing I can maybe compare it to is maybe if you're doing psychedelics. I don't even fully know, because I have never actually, but from what I see from movies and stuff, I mean, that is what I would maybe say would be the equivalent, except that you're completely sober. And that makes it even more amazing, is that you're like, you're experiencing a level of awareness that it's almost impossible to achieve on a regular everyday basis.
Yeah, look, my partner Joy and I, we've done a number of silent meditation retreats, and just the best thing. We just love them. Just being there in
Yeah.
silence. I mean, we're not big party goers or anything, and we're fairly sort of private people anyway. But we just love the thought of just, we had, I think it was 3 days was our first one, this particular retreat, and just absolutely just loved it. Just silence. And like you'd see people sneaking off on their phones and talking on their phones, and someone would come up and talk to you, and you'd say, and
Right.
and we just totally loved it. So, and I guess now for you, that's a huge part of your life. Now you've got the Breaking Ground meditation program, and I'd like to hear about that. And also your dream of having this farm, which just, I can tell you myself and Joy will be the first people there once you get that going.
Awesome. Absolutely. Yeah. So Breaking Ground meditation program that I created it's really for people who are not sure about meditation, who maybe haven't really given it enough of a try, because what I've found in my experience of doing it, and I'm one of those people, when I start doing something and it's great, I share it. I'm like, oh, you know what I just learned, you got to try this. That's me. So so what I found is a lot of people who haven't, people not like you and me, right? Because I know you're big into meditation too, and you have your meditation group, I noticed, and I saw some great meditations on there, so that you got some good stuff. But a lot of people that I come in contact with, when I reach the discussion of meditation, their first thing that they say is, oh, I've tried it, but I just, I can't do it. It doesn't work for me. I think too much. Or, yeah, I've tried. It doesn't work. I fall asleep. And I'm like, oh, I know about that. I've fallen asleep. Or, or, I can't stop my thoughts. It's, so it doesn't work for me. And so what I found myself doing is because of my passion of helping people, I put together this program that really is designed to kind of get you to realize that you don't have to stop your thoughts. It's difficult for everyone. We all think too much, and it's okay to think and to have those thoughts, because it's more about the relationship with your thoughts and being aware of them and not engaging in them so much as it is to completely stop. So really it's just, I give a lot of misconceptions. I have different analogies that help to really provide you with comfort and ease to start the meditation practice, and then a bunch of guided meditations that I created for myself when I was feeling the need for certain things. And so I put my my own little unique style into them, and have shared that with others. And so one of my biggest driving factors is that I am very big on hearing my gut and my intuition. There's a lot of I don't want to curse, but like it comes so natural that I have to stop myself. But there's just a lot of stuff out in the world, and there's a lot of opinions, and there's a lot of ideas, and there's a lot of external things that are coming at us at every angle, and a lot of times it may not even be accurate. It may not even be true. And so recognizing that the answers that you need are always within you has been a huge thing for me personally. And I always want to help people find that with themselves, because everything we need is within us. It's not outside of us. And so when we can truly hone in on the connection to ourselves, to our higher self, to, the energy of the universe, God, whatever, you want to refer to it as, that's when you have true clarity. I feel that's when you are really so connected with yourself and your body that you can tell when something doesn't feel right, or something, doesn't seem right, and know that that's the truth, as opposed to listening to what someone else might be telling you. And, maybe then, because people want to convince you of everything. They want to convince you of their beliefs, of their opinions, or whatever it is. And it can be, if you're not clear on who you are, if you're not clear on yourself and have that connection, it can be very easy to fall into the ideas of other people, and to not know which way to go. And I can say that because I was that person too. I was always so confused. It was always so hard to make a decision. I would ask so many people for their opinions, and then I would be even more confused because I was like, there was so much convoluted clutter in my mind that I couldn't even think clearly. Like, it was just too much. So that's really what the program is that I've created. And then it's a simple program. It's if people want to continue and work together, that's something I do as well. But for the most part, it's really just to help people start this journey and to recognize how easy it can be, and to let go of any judgment of themselves, and just be willing, able, and ready to get cracking on this meditation.
I love it. And I guess it's about knowing who you are, knowing yourself, and being able to look at the world and not get confused with all the stuff that's coming in, all this internal stuff, and just know who you are, be comfortable with who you are, and just move forward with that. And if people want to contact you in regards to that program, what's the best way for them to contact you?
Yes. So if you go to my website, which is ummastery.com, I do have a link there to start this program. Just have to sign up with your email, and then it'll send you the link to get started right away. And I also have information on there about the farm, because I am in the process of buying a farm where people can come and do this, together with me. We meditate together and spend time with the animals, and a lot of other things that I'm putting together. But it's going to be cool. It's going to be awesome.
Absolutely. And we'll have a link in the show notes here as well to your program there, which would be great for people. So this vision of yours with the farm just fascinates me. I think it's a fantastic idea. So tell our listeners all about that, Daniela.
Yeah. So basically it's in my mind, I imagine it being a little amusement park of things that I have done and loved and have helped me, that I want to share with other people. And so first and foremost, just being in nature and around animals, especially horses. I want to rescue horses, and horses are dogs and other animals are smart and intuitive as well, but horses are very emotionally aware, and they are able to pick up on your emotion. Like if you're depressed, they can feel it, and they are drawn to it, and they'll actually come to you and want to kind of console you. It's really a beautiful experience. I want to provide that for people to spend time with horses. I also want to create my version of a Zen garden, which would be almost like a maze of sorts that I want to create with different obstacles to try. And the obstacles would have multiple levels of easy, difficult, intermediate type of thing. Like one of the things, to give you an idea, is having a balance beam. And, it's fun to act like a kid and do these things. And it's also a really good connection to the idea of how in life, having balance is so important. An example I could give is that, a lot of people who are healthy, they want to there's extremes. You could be extremely healthy and you're never giving yourself even, one treat, or you could be extremely unhealthy and never really, so I feel like, and that's just an example, like of having balance in our lives. I think it's huge. And so having a balance beam to just kind of practice balance physically is not only fun, but it's just something that can kind of stick with you, to remember that, this is also a metaphor for life. If I would like to create a zip line, also would like to create, tents to do like a steam bath, and just a whole slew of things. Like that's just a little, I don't want to give all my tricks away, but that's just a little insight, a little quick peek. And then I would also have cabins where you can stay overnight or for a weekend. Really want to create a sustainable lifestyle. So, having food, vegetables, fruits, fruit trees, having a pond or a waterfall, and just creating a place that's going to really help you to connect with nature and really connect with yourself. So, a meditation space, possibly in a tree house, hidden away in the woods, where you can really go and be alone in the silence, things like that.
Beautiful. Sounds like heaven to me. That's an amazing vision. I know with your passion and your inspiration, it'll come to fruition. So that's just, that is brilliant.
Thank you.
where would you like to be in 12 months? What do you envision yourself doing in 12 months? Where are you at with your meditation and that kind of thing?
In 12 months, I would really like to be on this farm, already be hosting meditation retreats. And also I would like to be certified to work more with horses in terms of therapy and being able to really facilitate that for other people. Why stop there? In 12 months, I'd also I really want to give back. So I would like to host charity events that are also kind of a mixture of things that I love. So, having music and dancing, but also having speakers and, facilitating certain types of activities that would be fun. And obviously a percentage of those proceeds would then go to a local charity. And so that's something big on my heart that I really want to do as well.
Yeah. Wow. Fantastic. And sort of the final question, I guess, would be if you could go back in time to your 20-year-old self, what advice would you give yourself?
Ooh. Oh man, that girl was such a nut. In my 20s, I was a little crazy. I was dancing on bars, going out, drinking, buying everybody drinks, not even thinking about my future. Oh, it was awful. I mean, it was fun, but it was, yeah. So I would probably tell my 20-year-old self that I need to live for myself and nobody else, to know that I do have all the answers within me and to not seek them from other people, and that I am loved tremendously and supported tremendously. I think those are the biggest things that I would tell that girl, and stop spending all your money is probably another thing I would have told her. Save some of that money, because in 20 years you don't realize it, you're going to buy a farm and you're going to need it.
Exactly. Beautiful. Love it. Look, it's been great, Daniela. You're a very inspiring lady. You've had a fantastic story, an amazing life. Your dad being the only Ferrari mechanic in America. That is just brilliant. Love all that. And your vision, your goals are all really, really inspiring. And for those people who would like to do your Breaking Ground meditation program, the link will be below in the show notes. Thanks for being here. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on the show, and I'd love to get you back again soon, and we'll definitely come to your farm at some stage when that's up and running.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for having me, Kevin. You've been great. I had a good time. This was awesome. I appreciate you.
Beautiful. Thank you very much, Daniela. Well, what more can you say about Daniela Nastasi? Really inspiring lady. I loved that conversation. Hope you enjoyed it as well. Loved hearing about her time at the Tony Robbins firewalk. I experienced that back in 1995, and I know just how transformative that can be. Her idea of the amusement park as a meditation retreat, wow, stunning. That would be definitely a first in the world. And as I said during the interview, myself and Joy will be first in line to go and experience what would be an absolutely amazing place to go, an amazing experience to have. Daniela, thank you so much. Thanks everyone for listening. Really appreciate that. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments here. Don't forget to subscribe. As I said, you can contact Daniela. There's a link below in the show notes to her website. Please go and check it out. Amazing lady. Looking forward to 12 months' time when, who knows, maybe the amusement park will be open and we can interview her live from the amusement park. Wouldn't that be amazing? Thanks everyone. Really appreciate your time, and I will see you in the next podcast. Bye-bye.